Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chaplain Mayo, our prayer for the evening.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity to give a little invocation for public input. Let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord our God. With the beauty of winter, we are also reminded of our vulnerability as well as our concern for each other. Protect us from the dangers of threatening weather, infectious illness, and political discord. May our thoughts and words begin with kindness and be guarded and guided by care for our community, justice, and love. As we enter into this new year, may we be especially mindful of the most vulnerable in our community, our children, our elderly, and those who find themselves in need. We ask your blessing and assistance this evening, and we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy. Amen. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Pete.
Normally, we would have public input at 5 minutes. However, this evening, do we have anyone for public input?
Yes.
Anyone else beside you, Tom?
Dr.
Yeah, okay.
Davidson and-
You two guys.
Larry
Any other persons? The reason I'm asking is time-wise. We can put this, I know that you guys have a presentation, and I think I'd like to put this up front, but if anybody has a shorter presentation, I'd like to them to come forward first. None? Okay, Tom, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Tom Hayes. I think many of you know me personally, and on behalf, I'm here as General Counsel and Chief Strategy Officer for CDL. And on behalf of CDL Electric, Larry Seward, and the 500-plus employees of CDL, we want to thank you for the opportunity to provide this public input to the commission. I want to cover a couple things, but first of all, I want to give you a status of the laydown yard in which, we sought the approval from the commission and received that as to how that is. One of the citizens that did attend and had some concerns, we've met with, I've known her for years, and as the progress of the laydown yard has continued, we've kept in communication so she understands where we are. And for that benefit, if you see the laydown yard, one of the comments that were made by Commissioner Munsell is that no one would want to see this out their front door. Well, in fact, there's 3 houses around there, and the laydown yard is not in front of any of their doors. It's either a half a block away, and it's also one of the houses that's could be near there, Mr. Seward owns. But nevertheless, I wanted to show you that the laydown yard is progressing. We have what it looks like presently. It's been fenced, gravelled. It's on only the north section of that lot, even though we had approval to extend it south. We told you all that we wouldn't do that, and we haven't. And then we've also, this is what it looks like now, but it will look like this. We've ordered the black matting for the fence, and we've done some landscaping, which we'll continue to do. This is the view from the citizen that came that night from her house, and it's, as I said, a half a block away, and then we're doing landscaping there. And I think the lot looks better than it ever has. So I think those concerns should be laid to rest. I want to also give you a little bit of status of CDL. As you know, when Larry bought the McNally facility, it was vacant for a long time, and now it's been revitalized, and it services over 140 short line railroads out of that office: heating, plumbing, air conditioning, solar, and many other things. One thing that we've done in the last year, we have a Pitt State internship program where we have students come, learn trades, and then we give them scholarships for the time sequence that they've been with us. Same with CTEC, same with Girard High School and their welding program. And then we've hired over 60 new employees just over this last half year, and many others. And then Larry and CDL's also made a strong commitment to the Washington School and Pittsburgh development recently through the help of Point Forward and Mr. Fields, it's also here. One of the comments and misinformation that came from the council, from Commissioner Munsell, I believe, in an article that I want to also put to rest, is that for months it's been in the play for CDL to move 200 employees to Humboldt. That's not true. It's never been in play. It come to the forefront when it felt like we weren't getting the full support of the commission in the development and growth of CDL. So that statement there was erroneous by Commissioner Munsell. And the true focus of what I'm here to really provide is that we hope that you as commissioners and city employees, we all need to work together and build relationships. And that relationship should be based upon trust, that you can trust CDL, its owners, its employees, to do whatever they believe is best for the city. It's a great place to live and grow. And I think the passion of doing such as that is at the core of Larry Seward and all the CDL family. And we want you to trust that when we make a commitment that we'll be a good neighbor, that will do the right thing, hire more people, and help the city of Pittsburgh, that you can trust us going forward. And I really believe that the people that you can trust and the entities you can trust are the people that invest back into the community. And I think CDL has proven over the years that that's exactly what they do, and they will continue to do that in the future. To better provide you a better understanding of CDL's commitment to the community, I'd like to introduce Professor Davidson from the Kell School of Business, who has done an economic impact study on CDL, and I believe you all have that in front of you, as an indication of how much CDL provides for the city of Pittsburgh and how well they are committed to help Pittsburgh grow and be a better place to live. Thank you. Dr. Davidson.
Thank you. Mayor, city commissioners, and city manager. When I started out, by the way, I was told that I had about 12, 13 minutes. I'm going to try to cap my presentation off at 12 minutes. When I started out looking into CDL, I was really surprised over the extent of operations and impact they have locally and nationwide. CDL, talking about nationwide, CDL operates in 35 states. It has approximately 40,000 customers, 85 million in sales, and employs 500 people. And that, according to Department of Commerce, means that they are a large nationwide company. They cap it at 500 and more. They own 250 vehicles and trucks and cars, from trucks and cars to semi-tractor trailers. They own over 900 pieces of equipment and have between 5 and 10 million in inventory. So they are really formidable. Now, if you look at the local operations, then they are very versatile in what they do. 50% of the revenues come from railroad work. 25% comes from commercial work. 15% comes from industrial work. And 10% comes from residential work. Now, if you look under the hood, so to speak, then the first indication about the significant impact they have on the local economy is the relative high average wages of $65,154, much higher than for most companies locally and well above the $41,784, that is the average for the area. Now, the greater CDL organization sponsors training seminars and conferences, and the companies that attend or send delegates are like Siemens, or include Siemens, Alstom, Burlington Northern, Santa Fe, Union, okay, sorry. Oh, where is this?
Right there.
Okay. Sorry about this. I need my glasses. Here they are. Okay. The National Wyoming, Fort Worth, and Western Railroad and Farm Rail. Now, the owners of CDL, they also own a manufacturing company called Sermi, that is steel fabricators and shelving company. Now, they employ 31 people, and they pay an estimated $1,497,628 in labor income. Then the owners of CDL, they also co-own a hardware store on Joplin, General Machinery and Supply Company, and employs 7 people and pays an estimated $367,796 in labor income. And the owners of CDL have properties in Pittsburgh and 3 warehouses that they rent out, some of them, and this is an informal organization. They only pay bills, and in 2022, they paid $687,334 in maintenance expenses on properties in Pittsburgh, and they paid $67,809 in property taxes directly to the city of Pittsburgh. Now, I want to just go through the methodology really quick so you understand how we go about calculating the impact. This methodology was invented by or developed by an American economist in the 1970s, and he eventually got the Nobel Prize for it. This is called input-output requirement model or matrix. If you look at the tables on the screen, now we start in the top table. By the way, this is a simple illustration. Of course, there are hundreds of lines and lots of columns in this matrix. But in this simple example, let's say that the mining industry has 21 billion and 300 million in total output and sales. Remember that the budget and sales are distributed to all factors of production and costs. So in order to produce that, the mining industry, and this comes out of the economic census and the transportation census and other things, the mining industry has to buy 0.6 billion in inputs from itself or mining, 0.2 billion in transportation, from transportation and communication and utilities, and 0.1 billion in inputs from manufacturing and so forth. So we go down the column and we add it up and we get 21.3 billion. Now, since all the sales are distributed between the factors of production, you can divide each entry into the total, and we do that at the lower table. So 0.6 divided by 21.3 give you 3%, and that tells you that the mining industry needs to buy or spend 3% of their sales or budget on buying input from mining when they produce. 1% from transportation, communication, and utilities, and we go down the column. They have to buy 24.1% of or spent 24% of sales on buying inputs from households in terms of labor services and so forth. And when you go down, you can add it up to 100% because every dime in sales is accounted for, including profits. Now, let's say that we have a company in the mining industry, and let's say the sales are 100 million, or let's say sales increase 100 million, then that company has to buy or spend out of the 100 million, 3 million on buying inputs from the mining industry, 1 million in buying inputs from transportation, communication, and utilities, 300,000 from manufacturing and so forth. And you go down the table, and at the end you allocated all the 100 million in sales. So you have to have good data. And if you look at the screen, you can see that this is the data that we got for CDL, Electric Inc., and the affiliates. It's very good data. We had more or less everything we needed except for the conference spending. The 500 delegates that attended in 2022 conferences in Pittsburgh spent on average 300. And so it had 64,000 in spending on hotels, 61,000 in restaurants, and 25,000 on retail. So we had to estimate the labor income and the number of jobs associated with that. But you take each entity or company, you run the numbers through the model, and you get the impact for each entity, and then you add up the total to get the total. So if you look at the overall impact from CDL, Electric Inc., and affiliated entities, then they employ 297 people in Pittsburgh, mostly, or the Pittsburgh area, and they pay a labor income of $18.3 million, and that results in total value added, which is labor income plus profits, plus taxes, plus proprietor's income, and some other things, a value added of $22.3 million, and total output of $36.9 million locally. That is significant. It must make them one of the biggest employers locally. Now, the difference between output and the value added are the purchases. Of course, input purchases. Of course, the more you buy locally, the bigger the impact. And you can say that their operations suppose 75 jobs locally, paying $3.2 million in labor income, almost $6 million in value added, and $11.6 million in output. Now, when the employees go out and spend the labor income, then that is also going to create an impact locally, and that is called the induced effect, and that creates 68 jobs, labor income of $2.5 million, value added of $5.2 million, and a total output of $9.4 million. So when you add up the direct impact from CDL and affiliated entities, and the ripple effects that go through the economy, through the input suppliers, and when the employees are spending the money, then the total impact from their operations is to the tune of 440 local jobs, 24 million in labor income, 5.2 million in value added and it's 440 jobs, 24 million in labor income, 33.5 million in value added, and 57.9 million in overall output, which is significant. Now, if you look at the taxes they pay or are collected locally, that of course goes to local jurisdictions, government jurisdictions, then you can say that CDL and affiliates pay directly 199,642 in local taxes to sub-county jurisdictions that are mostly cities, and in this case, of course, it's mostly city of Pittsburgh. Then they pay about 80,881 of tax that are collected and returned to the sub-county special districts that are like the public schools and the fire district. It's 80,881. The county collects 212,907, and you add it up, you get 560,977. Now, the suppliers, input suppliers, they pay local taxes to the tune of 592,512, and the impact from employees spending their labor income, results in tax collection of 301,641. So the total tax impact from CDL and affiliated entities on local governments is a significant 1,455,134 annually, or at least last year, but annually if we continue in the future, into the future with the same operations. Now that concludes my presentation. I see I went over a little bit, but if you have any questions, please let me know.
You guys have any questions?
No, I think the slide you have up now is really the bottom line of your presentation.
Say that again?
I said the slide you have now is really the bottom line of your
This
presentation.
is the bottom line,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
And that shows you the total impact in terms of economic impact and the fiscal impact. And the fiscal impact are the taxes that are collected at every level and returned to local jurisdictions. It does not include the state, and it does not include the feds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With, having listened to this, and I wish that, Tom, that you had brought these pictures, or at least the mock-ups of these pictures some time ago, we'd all had a better understanding of what was going on with that yard. There's no doubt that, that CDL has a big impact on Pittsburgh. However, also, it has a huge impact on Pittsburgh, and we're all very happy for that. But this is a democratic forum. Commissioners have to vote their conscience, and when they do so, it's a democratic process. We're, to say the least, we're happy to have CDL in the community. We're happy to have the 297, although your thing here says 253, but 297 is a better number.
Doc, I appreciate you saying that, and I totally agree with you. It's a democratic process, and does not have any issue how you voted or how you conducted yourself and how you handled yourself. As a councilman, as now the mayor, you conducted yourself, that meeting, I thought, with being a professional. We have no problem. You vote against it. I don't think anything's ever said anything about you whatsoever. And, but we do have problems about when we weren't here, how Chuck handled things, and that was our biggest issue. I'm not here to argue with Chuck. Life's too short, you know what I mean? I know most of all of you's here. I look around here and I know almost everybody here. And that's not why we're here, and that's not why we brought this and put this up here. Is what we're trying to say is, as businessmen, as city folks, we all have to work together for the greater good of the people of Pittsburgh. And we have to conduct ourselves in the most best possible way. And I guess that's what we're coming here tonight to say. And we just felt like the way you handled yourself, Chuck, was not the best professional way. And I think maybe this is a conversation that me and you should have, not in a public setting like this, but me and you have a one-on-one conversation, and I think that would be the best way to handle it.
Well, I appreciate that, Larry, and I could see if I have time for that.
And I would,
With
I
your
want,
schedule.
and I want you to.
But I'm gonna tell you that, you know, I'm upset you the way I voted, but like Doc said, I voted my conscience, and I would do it again.
And I want you to vote your conscience,
you.
Chuck, and I think that's, but to showboat the way I call showboating, and I don't want to debate it here in front of everybody.
I'm not going to.
And I'm not going to neither. My life's too short. And I think that you and me should have a conversation, and maybe after our conversation, you can understand what me and a lot of other people in this community think. And I think that would be good for both of us. I think it would be good for the city of Pittsburgh, and I think it would be good for everybody all around. And we're both two adults, we ought to be able to sit down and talk. But as far as you voting against it, that didn't bother me. That didn't bother me a bit. What bothered me, and I think most of everybody in our company, is how we felt like you handled it. We had no problem with Doc. He handled, and I'm gonna leave here pretty quick, because I know you guys have got business and need to take care of things. But you, as a commissioner, should conduct yourself in the best possible light. Me, as a person in the city of Pittsburgh, and have people work for me, and I work for the city of Pittsburgh, which I'm talking about the people of this town. We've been here since 1964. We have 2 and 3 generations of people that we do business with. And for us to see us up here and to see you up here and battling with the company is just not good. So
Well,
that's all we got to say.
I appreciate what you have to say, Larry, but I also know what I said. I never talked bad about your company. I never talked bad about you. I came into your office and told you how great a company you have and the things you did when you put my heating air in. So I don't have any animosity toward you or your company, and I look forward to putting this all behind us and moving forward. But like I said, I'm an elected official, I gotta listen to both sides, and unfortunately, when you're an elected official, this comes with the territory, and I accept that. So I appreciate you coming and voicing your opinion that you're right. We might have a different disagreement, but I think we're both doing what's best for the city of Pittsburgh. So thanks again, Larry, and we see about getting something set up.
I
Yeah.
think the rest of us can echo, thank you for you two working that out, not in a public setting, so.
Yeah, I don't need to be
So,
in a
yeah,
public
so-
setting because
So if
it
we're
doesn't
about
do no
done, that would be
good.
great.
And we'll do that outside. But Chuck, I also want to leave you with one thought in how you as a professional and as a city commissioner represent the city of Pittsburgh. And I would appreciate that you remember that. All right?
Larry?
Thank you guys very
gentlemen,
much.
In closing, I do
We're
feel
done.
like I do my job that I was
I
elected
have
to do.
something to say.
Thank you.
You need to get control of
We'll move on with the consent agenda now, thank you.
I wanted to come,
Public input.
but again, good.
I asked for that up front. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Karen Munsell, and I am Chuck's wife. And I think you guys all have a hard job to do, and it's hard to satisfy everybody in the city of Pittsburgh. I will say that I'm very proud of Chuck for what he does. He is somebody who listens to both sides of the story. He makes me proud, and I know he makes a lot of citizens proud. The situation that has gone on, I was on the phone call that happened at the beginning of this, and I know, I went back and watched the meetings, and Chuck and I have neither one ever said anything bad about Larry Seward, anybody through CDL. We have praised them, we have gave them business, and because of Chuck's vote, per the phone call, we were banned from CDL. So I never thought in all these years of being commissioned, I mean, it was a 3-2 vote. And it does look nice. We drive by it every day. We've got bushes planted on the side, and it does look nice. But I think people need to understand, you guys don't have an easy job. I know, because he comes home sometimes with his heart racing 90-0. But I have to give it to Chuck. He listens to the people, and when they call, he answers the phone, and he listens, and he tries to figure out which way he's wanting to do it. But I have to say, Larry, he's never said anything about you, ever, your business, your employees, or anything. He's had nothing but good to say all these years. So I hope this comes to an end. But with that phone call, Chuck was willing to meet with Larry Seward a month ago. And before they could set something up, Larry hung up on Chuck. So, again, that's all I have to say. I'm the one that had to listen to the phone call and had to listen to this. But, again, I'm gonna say, Larry, I don't know where this come from, but there is no ill against you or your company, nor has there ever been. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I'm just getting glasses off of here.
Playing with them. They're my dirty fingerprints on them.
we'll move on with the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? No? No.
No.
We'll have a roll call to accept the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor by saying,
It's a
roll call.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Height.
Yes.
McNay.
Yes.
Mansell.
Yes.
Sigley.
Yes. Okay, special presentation at the present time, Imagine Pittsburgh update.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Proud to be here tonight along with other representatives of Imagine Pittsburgh to talk about something exciting that's going to be occurring in our community over the next 6 to 7 months. Obviously, this is not the entire Imagine Pittsburgh team. If we did that, we would probably have 30 to 50 people that have been directly involved with it, not to mention the thousands that have provided input. So we didn't figure you wanted thousands of people at tonight's meeting. So you have myself, our past chair, and he'll introduce the next chairs of Imagine Pittsburgh. But briefly, for anybody that may not be familiar with Imagine Pittsburgh, a very brief history. It was the fall of 2010. It started in a chamber board planning retreat when we were just talking about chamber stuff. And one of our board members called a timeout and said, you know, at this exact time, there are a dozen other organizations that are having similar conversations. At what point do we tie it all into one big community vision plan? And it was a great idea. So we pulled back for 2 years, engaged the city. Marty Beasley was the mayor at the time. And we spent about 2 years putting together a community vision with the input of the community itself. And got a little history and timeline here. So that first plan was released in 2012. That was also about the time that Darren and Jay got to town, and they embraced it immediately and really threw the city's support behind it and helped make that happen. Then we came back in late 2017 and updated the Imagine Pittsburgh plan. We were very fortunate to get a guy named Joe Delasega that was willing to lead that charge for us. And so now it's been 5 years since that second plan, and it's time for Imagine Pittsburgh 3.0. And so I'm going to ask Joe to come up and tell you some of the successes that we've had with Imagine Pittsburgh, and then he will introduce you to the next co-chairs of the third round of Imagine Pittsburgh. So, Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, all right. Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. I was able to join actually after the first 5 years. So Imagine Pittsburgh 2030 is just that, it had a long runway. And so when I engaged, already had 5 years under our belt. And at the time, there was a committee of 18 people from across the entire community. And as we heard reports of what had been done, we were elated to find out how many projects had been done and been completed towards this vision that was built by the entire community with the help of an outside consultant. And so what we realized was we had this amazing thing for our community, this plan that really, so much of it had been done by the city, because all the low fruit were things that could be done under the leadership of Darren Jay and the team of the city, and most of it was approved by the city commission. But as those things started to get knocked down, we started getting into other things that were aspirational in the plan that were going to require more public and nonprofits and more people working together. So our group took over the leadership of the plan, and one of the things that we would get as we began spending more energy out in the community, just saying we have a plan, sharing the plan. We would have periodic meetings where we would bring topics, we'd try to get feedback. Again, we didn't want to just say, let's just start, every 5 years, let's dust it off. Let's make sure the community is engaged in updating the plan. But a lot of people would say, well, I'm not in IP 2030, or I'm not on that. That isn't really the way it was designed. IP 2030 is a process, and the committee that's taking care of that are stewards of that plan. But really, the people that are implementing IP 2030 are our businesses and our nonprofits and the city and the university. Everybody that's doing things and operating in Pittsburgh, that's how the plan's getting implemented. This is just guideposts, if you will, of what the community said are important to us. So it's great to have the guideposts. But IP 2030 was never meant to be the people doing the implementing. So that's just an important thing to know. So I was fortunate that Ron Sigley signed on halfway through. He joined our committee, and then the last couple of years actually carried the torch as the chair of the committee.
I think that's Ron Scripps.
Sorry. Ron Scripps.
Not that I'm trying to say.
Ron's thinking, what? Yeah, no, Ron
I
Scripps.
missed a few meetings.
I said, wait.
I do it all the time.
Did a terrific job. So, some things that you should know, we had housing, economic development, infrastructure, public wellness. Those were the 4 pillars when the plan was originally built. We said, wow, living in Pittsburgh with Pittsburgh State University and the school district that we have, St. Mary's School, it was like, how could education, CTEC, how can education not be key for this community? So that was added. And this marketing, whether it was marketing or marketing communication, we felt like an important thing was for us to begin to talk to ourselves how we, as our own citizens, talk about Pittsburgh and kind of, being more positive and sharing the message, which we feel has really happened the last 5 years as we've continued to do such a good job with growth. So I'm just going to run through this fairly quickly. You've seen these before over the last several years, but just $600 million in economic development between the casino and the FedEx, Hampton, our businesses doing a fantastic job. The work that you let the EDAC do is just a tremendous asset in the growth we've had in the retail sector. So we are truly prepared to do business in the area of economic development. So that's just been a huge success. Block 22, the Bicknell Center, CTEC, housing. We know that housing is something that we really needed badly. We have initiatives, things are moving. We know it's something that we're going to have to continue to work with. This was IP 2030. We weren't going to get this all done in this 5 years. But there has been work and a lot of great work done on that. Low unemployment, our hotel room nights, record number, record retail trade pull factor. So, this account of 20+ thousand, that's 40,000 during the workday. That's just incredible. And then the wage growth that we've had in the last several years. So it's just been great success. A new 5-year capital improvement plan, passage of a public safety sales tax. The fiber optics has been great. The trail development, streamlined procedures for demolition of structures, the adoption of the internal property maintenance code, and then, of course, the housing director position, which has been so vital, and then public information position. So there's been a lot done. And the one thing I'd like to say, a lot of people have talked about the success over the last 5 years or 10 years. I think there was an incredible base in Pittsburgh that, for the generation before that, and that we have an incredible foundation. And I think it's just between that foundation that we had, the opportunity that's come the last 10 years, we've been able to take advantage of with our growth. So it was a good 5 years. I think it's important everybody know that we have a vision and that as many different people can appreciate what's going on with the vision. And I'm gonna have Shane be able to come up here and be able to talk about plans going forward. But it's been a real privilege to be able to serve these last 5 years.
Thank you, Joe.
You bet. Shane?
We have, what? Oh,
So Quentin and I are co-chairs of Imagine Pittsburgh 2030 moving forward. And our big goal tonight is just kind of to outline our plans. With anything new and anytime you have growth and development, and Joe referred to this long runway we have that's growing shorter and shorter, but we've had a lot of successes and we think it's time to reset. And the key is making sure that we understand what the community needs are, what the needs are from the city, the university, the citizens, and direct that. And so now we think is a great time to have a little bit of a reset and look at what's going forward. So we've kind of got a timeline laid in place.
Yeah, so February 1st, we're gonna kick off the next phase 3, right? With an online survey, that will be live, and we will close that, February 28th. And what that survey will do is allow our citizens to give input, basically directing the Imagine Pittsburgh group, through the next 5 years.
We'll move forward then. Once we kind of begin to understand what the needs and what the community wants, we're gonna form a steering committee and we're gonna delve into the information we have and highlight two things: what is needed and what is practical. We wanna have goals that we can succeed and make sure happen and that are achievable with effort. So the steering committee will assess those, and then in April and May, we'll start a community input meetings. And we'll say, here's kind of what we're seeing, we took your information, we assimilated that, and here's the goals we have in place.
And if you're all familiar, you remember 2019, Pittsburgh, you could feel it. We were about to explode, right? The balloon was to its limits. We had the meetings at Block 22, the public meetings. I believe all of you were there, if I remember correctly. Maybe not Dr. Sigley, but I know I remember many people in this room being there as well. We got great feedback there. The community came, great feedback from all levels, from students at PSU up to retirees wanting to remain in Pittsburgh, and it was just a lot of great info. So we're really looking forward to that. I know COVID kind of put a damper on, kind of took the wind out of our sails there for a minute, but the community is resilient, and we're ready to move forward here.
So we'll then take the summer, and the steering committee will work both from the online survey, the community programs. We'll prioritize what's available, and then we'll begin to build committees based around that. So if we have something in healthcare, we need a committee that understands and can help us move forward with healthcare. Whatever the issues our community brings forward, we'll develop committees, prioritize those over the course of the summer. Once we have that in place, as always, we want to have proper checks and balances. So in the month of September, we're going to reach out to everybody, go through civic clubs, more community meetings, and say, here's our final plan we think. That's great government decisiveness, right? Here's our final plan we think, and then we'll receive community input, modify that, and then we'll move forward in October.
Final plan, we will be back in front of this group and present the findings, the community input, and how we're gonna move forward.
So our biggest goal tonight is we realize how vital the city, the commission, our local businesses, everybody is to making this plan successful and continuing this wonderful momentum we have going forward. And we just want to make sure you're aware every step of the way what our plans are, what our goals are, and what our processes are. And we appreciate you guys giving us time to share that with you.
Yeah, and I think one of the key points to take away is, the Imagine Pittsburgh, it's a community effort to come up with how we're gonna move forward. And really, moving forward is not successful without the commission. Hats off to Jay and Darren and Blake for all their efforts and kind of guiding this through. So we appreciate support.
I think real quick on the history, it should be mentioned, reiterated, this really started with the chamber and the vision that Blake and I think Jeff Poe and a few others had to get it going. And I know you may not be able to glean from the presentation, but basically what's happening is about every 5 years, somebody else is getting asked or forced to be the chair and co-chairs of it. But it really has gone pretty well, and it hasn't taken up the commission's time and really a lot of the staff's time. I mean, it's really the community. So appreciate the chamber stepping up and getting it going, and glad to be part of it, and we'll continue to help you however we can as you move forward.
Just economic development is something near and dear to me, and I think just this one slide, $600 million in economic development through Imagine Pittsburgh 2030, the chamber, the city, and the citizens all coming together. For a town this size, that's an outstanding number, and it's what substantiates the new jobs, the new businesses, the awareness in the retail space. So thank you guys for giving us your support to get to this point.
Thank you all for your work on it.
Thank you.
And I think it'll be interesting to see what that survey comes back with the online, the February survey. I think that'll be fun.
It will be interesting.
Fun. It'll be fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, moving forward, we'll consider the following. Ordinance number G-1344, consider approval of ordinance G-1344, amending section 74-245 of the Pittsburgh City Code, removing quadrant requirements of the appointees to the Active Transportation Advisory Board. Approve or disapprove?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Real quick, for this item and the following item, just a quick summary of what's going on here is when the Active Transportation Board was originally set up, it had 7 members. We've kind of struggled to have members in this voluntary group, so we've asked to reduce that number of members down to 5, and then we've also changed. Obviously, the city's up in quadrants from 4th and Broadway, but not all those quadrants are equal, so we've tried to eliminate that quadrant requirement so that they just reside within the city of Pittsburgh, along with a couple of industry representatives, just to try and get more, because even if you have a group of 7 and you don't have a full quorum, then they can't move forward with even accepting the meeting minutes. So we're trying to make that group have a little more influence that way. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I'd move to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve.
Did Chuck have discussion?
No, he was seconding.
No, okay.
Are you on just A or A and B? Is he saying A and B?
Well, we're gonna do.
Well,
both.
it represents
We're
A
gonna
and
do
B.
each of them. On A, ordinance number G-1344.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. B, ordinance number G-1345. Consider approval of the ordinance G-1345, amending section 74244 of the Pittsburgh City Code, changing the total number of board members for the Active Transportation Advisory Board from a 7-member board to a 5-member board. Approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number G-1345. All in favor, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Moving on to ordinance number G-1346. Consider approval of ordinance number G-1346, amending section 58-2 of the Pittsburgh City Code to change the Pittsburgh Area Farmers Market Advisory Board members from 7-member board to a 5-member board, and amending section 58-6 of the Pittsburgh City Code to change the monthly meetings to quarterly meetings. Sir?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Much like Matt on his previous ones, we're having problems meeting quorum so we could take action. So we'd like to reduce the members from 7 to 5. And then the meetings, we were having problems with the vendors during the season, making meetings, because they're out, growing their stuff, doing their products. So we recommend going down to quarterly meetings, and I think we can accomplish everything we need to with those.
Thank you, sir. Approve or disapprove?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve, to vote. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Item D, ordinance number G-1347. Consider approval of ordinance number G-1347, amending section 58-34 of the Pittsburgh City Code to change the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board's regular scheduled meetings from monthly to bi-monthly. I'm assuming bi-monthly is every other month rather than twice a month,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have our January meeting and then set the officers and go bi-monthly after that.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything, you wanna say anything on that one?
It was just a concern expressed by the board members that maybe we'd be more efficient, because, you know, a lot of times it's just a budget review, and they thought maybe if we just dropped down to bi-monthly, we could, you know, make more progress on projects and stuff like that.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve, all in favor to approve by saying aye,
Aye.
all opposed by the same sign. Resolution number 1261, consider adoption of resolution number 1261, certifying legal authority to apply for the 2023 Kansas Moderate Income Housing Program from the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation and authorizing the mayor to sign and submit such application.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, or KHRC, has opened the 2023 Round 1 grant application process. We are just asking for approval to submit an application on behalf of DVLP LLC.
Thank you.
I'd move to approve.
I have a question. Round 1, so is there, how many a year?
3.
3.
Yep.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve, resolution number 1261. All in favor by saying aye,
Aye.
all opposed by the same sign.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay. Section 8, Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Consider staff recommendation to adopt the Pittsburgh Public Housing Authority's 2023 Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Approve, or, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We're just coming in front of you to approve our administrative plan for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Every year, we have to update that, and we ask for you guys to approve it, and that is our federal regulations, how we operate our Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Anything different in this plan other than?
There was, in your packet, you'll see a few changes. I have separated them out by federal regulation. There was not very many major federal regulations or us to change our PHA policies. The majority of it was like special housing that we don't participate in because we're not as big of a housing authority. So there's not huge changes to the admin plan that we are not already working off of.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. All in favor by saying aye,
Aye.
all opposed by the same sign. Non-agenda reports and requests.
I don't want to trump anybody's, I would like to acknowledge the cleanup that happened on Saturday before the Chiefs game. Was that yours? All right.
No, please go ahead, please go
I
ahead.
don't have anything.
I'll just mark that off.
No, I don't have anything. I just didn't want to make sure. Anyway, I'll say my version of it. When I got there was 30 people in the field, in the trees, in the creek, on their hands and knees. There was an elderly lady that I had to help up a hill at one point. She had to be. I'm 57 this year, and she had me by a few decades, and she was out there. So there was a lot of people. There were some young people. There was a very colorful dog. There was just a lot of energy, and it was a gloomy day, and it was going to rain all day, and it never did. But when you drove away from there, it was pretty nice to see what 2 hours of hard work by some folks could do. So I want to make sure we recognize everybody that participated in that and encourage others to do that as well in the future, because there's plenty of areas of town that can use some litter attention.
There are, and we're working, moving ahead on our cleanup day, due for April 1 still. We're looking at April 1.
April 1's the Pittsburgh big event.
Right.
Ours is probably going to be broken out. The citywide cleanup is going to be broken out into 4 smaller events. We haven't announced those dates yet because Matt's putting those together.
Okay. All righty. In the meantime, homeowners could go out in front of their houses and pick up all the trash that they have out there, and that would save us a lot of time. I would like to, are we done with the non-agenda reports? Anybody else? Anyone else? The Mayor's Moment, I would like to acknowledge that the death of Steve Ward, one of our really fine citizens, businessmen here in town. untimely death, and we're all quite sad about it. We only wish his family the very best. Okay, anything else? Nothing?
Move to adjourn.
I second it.
Second, been moved to adjourn and seconded. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.